welcome to my channel. Today, we'll be taking a look at a game from a very recent top-level tournament on chess.com, and this is the Speed Chess Women's Championship. So, we can see that the Speed Chess Women's Championship is a very high-level tournament played online. So, it's mainly blitz and bullet games. So, there are 16 players in total, 10 invited, 4 via play-ins, 2 via the Title Cup leaderboard. And you can see that these are some of the details, and this is the players that will be playing, including the current Women's World Chess Champion, Wenjun, and many more strong players. So, and you can just basically take a look at it, the formats and everything, and you can see this is the time control. And actually there's 3 plus 1, 1 plus 1, and also 5 plus 1. But today we'll be taking a look at a game played by Wenjun and Polina Shuvalova. And before I'm going to show you guys this game, this is the result. So this tournament has already been playing for already a few days, and now it has reached the finals. And Wenjun and Polina Shuvalova have reached the finals. And you can see that they all faced very strong players and have beat them. So now these two players will be facing in the final. And now let's take a look at one of their games. This is the first game played in the finals. Wenjun is white and Polina Shuvalova is black. She is an international grandmaster, but also very strong actually. So the first game was 5 minutes plus 1 second each remove increment, and let's see how this game went. The game started with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, very standard, knight c3, and d5. Here Wenjun played c takes d5. So this is the exchange variation, and it's actually not the best option here. Like me myself, I don't really prefer to take immediately because it opens up this diagonal for the bishop. So I actually think why should go knight f3 first or bishop g5, but I think maybe Wenjun's idea here is to just simplify the position quicker and transfer it into an endgame. So yeah. And in the game, knight takes d5 was played. E takes d5 is also okay, but knight takes d5 also fine. e4 takes, and c5. So black is putting pressure in the center by pushing the c pawn. Now, if white takes here, now this is not a good option because after queen takes, king takes, black will take the c5 pawn. And not only did that, black has won back the extra pawn that white had, but you can see that black is now lead in development actually and can castle on the next move, whereas white cannot castle, and this f2 pawn is under attack right now. So of course we will not take on c5 but instead go knight f3 as played in the game. And now c takes d4 was played. C takes d4, bishop b4 check, bishop d2 block, takes, and short castle. Bishop c4. So both sides are just basically developing, and as you can take a look at the time, both sides haven't used any of their time, so they're all playing very fast. b6 was played. So this is like a very normal way to develop. In the Queen's Gambit declined semi-tirage, black will be developing this bishop this way, either to go to b7 or go to a6 to exchange white's light square bishop. So let's see how it went in the game. d5 was played to exchange a few pawns in the center of the board, and here black played bishop a6. So if black took on d5 immediately, now of course this will be losing on the spot because bishop d5 traps this rook which is in the corner and black cannot block. So yeah, of course Polina saw that and played bishop a6 instead, developing at the same time, also offering an exchange. Here, Wenjun took, because if you go back to b3, for example, now black's bishop will be looking at this diagonal, and it's actually kind of hard for white to really to castle kingside. So it's very annoying, and taking on a6 is the best option here. After knight takes a6, now d6. So this is the best move here, and even chess.com gave it 1 exclamation mark, because why is it a good move? Here, because d6, some of you guys might feel like, okay, now black can go e5, of course, because after knight takes e5, there is rook e8 or queen e8, I think. And this pawn, like this knight and this pawn and the knight will be hanging. So, some of you guys might feel like, okay, if I go d6, wouldn't this pawn be a little bit weak? But actually, it's not that weak. If instead you took on e6, just offering an exchange, you might say, well, after f takes e6, for example, black's pawn structure is a bit damaged, especially the e6 pawn is a very weak pawn. But now after, for example, white won't be trading, of course, because once white trades, now let's say after rook a d8, black is developing much faster than white is. So the best option is to go queen e2, attacking the knight, and white will castle on the next move. So of course, d6 is a good move here, played in the game. And after d6, knight c5 was played. So actually, also a better option would be to go rook c8 or queen d7. e5 here, I think, yeah, e5 is also okay, but not the best move. But if it's if you play this in a blitz game, then of course white needs a lot of calculation, and it might waste some time. So e5 is worth a try here in blitz games, of course, but in the game, Polina played knight c5, which is also okay. Alright, so after knight c5, e5 was played. So the bad thing about knight c5 is that now white can push e5, and this pawn on d6 is just a monster. So no piece, none of black's pieces can really attack it. Now f6 was played. Now this is actually a very logical move, but it's a mistake basically, because f6 not only weakens the e6 pawn, but also creates some weaknesses. Well, actually the main weakness is just the e6 pawn. So f6 is a mistake here. Black should have just developed with queen d7 or rook c8, and the position will be just close to equal. But in the game, f6 was played. Polina might be thinking okay, I want to distract this pawn away to weaken this d6 pawn, which is a very logical idea. But here the engine just says that this is a mistake, because actually in the game, Wenjun missed the idea, which is to go short castle. f6 is giving white the time to develop his pieces very quickly, because now after f takes e5, knight takes c5, even though there's no pawn, there are no pawns defending this pawn anymore, but this pawn is still very strong. It's hard for black to really attack it, and our e5 knight also controls the square in front of the pawn, which is a very crucial thing. And the rooks will develop on the next move, and white will be better, of course. So short castle should have been the best move, but in the game, e takes f6 was played. Wenjun missed this idea, and now the position is equalized once again. Queen takes f6, the best way to take. Even black has a small edge here, I think. Short castle. Finally, white brought her king to safety, but after rook a d8, now rook a d1, the d6 pawn is well defended by white. Rook d7 was played, so black's idea is to go rook f d8 to attack or keep putting pressure on this d6 pawn. So rook f e1 was played in the game, rook f d8. So now, why is this a mistake? Actually, even though chess.com here said it's a mistake, but in human eyes, it's just a very normal move, actually. I mean, just putting pressure on this d6 pawn, if you really have to calculate, okay, maybe black lost some advantages here, but in human eyes, again, it's still, I think, a fine move. After knight e5, rook takes d6. There's no way to really defend this d6 pawn anymore. So knight e5 is the best idea here, and after rook takes d6. Now, Wenjun here played queen takes d6. Actually, so this is the best move in this position, but it's actually it's hard to choose here whether to keep the queen on the board or like trade the rooks. Trade the queen for 2 rooks. So here, 95, like once you play 95, white will be trading like the queen for 2 rooks, because you cannot move your queen anywhere else, because let's say here and after takes, you will lose the knight. So once you play this 95 move, your idea is to go for the trade. Here, of course, you have other options. For example, like simply just play h3 as given here. Now, rook takes d6 is not the best move because we can just simply take again. But also, if you really want to just keep the position tense, you can, for example, go knight b7 to put pressure on this d6 pawn. Now, let's say you go queen e2. Now, probably black can just take on d6, and this is just going to be a draw. But probably black is going to be slightly better because black is up a pawn anyways. So here, after after 95, so we can see that Wenjun actually played this move really fast, which means that she already has this plan going on in her mind. So after rook d6 takes. Now in this position, black played h6, very logical move. h3 was played. Now Wenjun is basically doing the same thing as black is doing, like there are no back rank problems anymore, and the king can always escape to h2. But here, time is very important. Like, you have to be fast to succeed in all of your ideas. Here, the best move is actually to go rook d4. So what is this move? This move is actually, like, your idea is basically to go h4, h5, and knight g6 to create a very strong spot on g6. So this is basically white's idea, because it's actually very hard for black to really push the pawns on the queen side, because first of all, they're too low. Second of all, white just controls too many squares, especially this e5 knight is a very strong piece, and black's knight on c5 cannot really find a way to trade this knight off. So of course, white is going to be slightly better here, and it's going to be very easy to hold a draw. But h3 was played, not a big deal, but not the best move. King h7 was played, now rook d4 finally, and after queen f5, rook e2 was played. Now, white should have gone h4 again, as I've said, and then go h5, knight g6, because that is the idea of playing rook, playing rook d4. If you play rook d4, then your idea would be to go h4 and h5. But in the game, rook e2 was played, which is a miss, and after b5, g4 was played, kicking this queen b1 check, now king g2. a5, so black is basically trying to create a pass pawn on the queen side, but that takes a lot of time. So now finally, Wenjun starts to push her pawns on the king side by playing h4, and after g5, which is actually okay, but after takes, knight f3 was played in the game, which is a mistake. But just basically, the engine says that just losing a slight advantage, but really in human eyes, this move is just fine. I mean, very logical, attacking the g5 pawn, why not? And actually, in the game, king g6 was played. Now, this is a real mistake, because now there's rook e5 and the g5 pawn is simply dead. What is the best move here? The best move here is actually to go king h6, because now after rook e5, there's this queen c2 move. Now the main point is that once you take on g5, there's no check, which means that now black has this knight e4 move, forking the rook and the pawn, and this is actually gonna be a draw, because now white can only check on h5, and after king g7, white just has to keep on checking, or else white will even lose. So here, king h6 is the best move, because white will take with no check. So yeah, that is the big difference. But in the game, king g6 was played. Now rook e5, knight d3. This is actually the losing move here, because this is just basically losing this e6 pawn. Maybe Polina thought that white was going to take on g5, and this will be a draw because after, for example, like king h6, just white will keep on checking, but probably she missed the idea of rook takes e6. And now after rook e6, king f7 was played, knight g5 check, king f8, and now rook d8, king g7, rook d7, and finally here mate into after rook f7, king g8, rook e8 is mate, and here white won. So this is actually the first game in the finals, and Wenjun won this game as the white pieces. She played an excellent game. There are just a few mistakes here. Polina also fought very well, but in the end she missed the king h6 idea here, which is okay because it's not easy to see because there's only a little bit of time left. So this game I think is well played by both sides. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this game, and if you like this video, you can actually comment down below in the comments. You can just basically say yes or no. So yeah, I think that's it for today's video, and please leave a comment and also please subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye.